Hello and welcome to the next tutorial in the sequence. Today we're going to be talking about the mixer. In order to open the mixer, we must first look at the tools panel found at the top here. The fifth tool along will show the mixer. All we have to do is click on this and it will open up the mixer window. Once we're in here, we can see a selection of channels. Each channel has a name, insert, and usually the number. The reason mine are different is because I have a setup template which I could potentially talk about in later tutorials. However, for now I will explain how to add channels here and how to work with them. So first of all, the master channel. The master channel is the first channel, and this controls all of the sound across all of your mixer channels. So anything you put inside the mixer will flow through the master before it gets interpreted out into the sound card. As you'll see over here in the output, it outputs to the primary sound driver, which is exactly what you want it to do, but it's only the master you want to do that. If you notice, all of these other ones, there's no output on them because it's not necessary. You only want it coming out of the master. They're all being routed through the mixer into the master. Okay, so if we have our own samples, say we had the Moogish synth earlier, this one. Sorry, that's up an octave. Few octaves. Say we want to play with the effects of that. If we just click on Moogish, it brings up the plugin window. What we have to do here is select the FX channel which we want. Say insert 12 here is free. What we do is change FX to number 12, and that will bring it up. So if we play it, it will show up through the mixer. The only problem with doing it this way, however, is it doesn't automatically name the channel. If there's a better way of doing this. If we click on Moogish and we click on insert 12 and we simply use the controls Control and Al, and you'll see automatically it's gone as Moogish, and if I play, it's still on the same channel. But once we've used that command once, it will always stay as that name. So if you change the instrument, you will have to rename the mixer track. But it is useful if you know for definite that you're not going to change that. Like, for example, in a template. These drop-down buttons here, they provide us a menu to loads of different effects. We have things like, say if we want to add a reverb, we can go to the fruity reverb. Can be found here, and we can click down on the drop down menu and go to presets, and we can flick through things. Maybe we want to use this one. You'll notice it now has reverb. In order to turn this off, we can also click this light here on the right of the effects channel, and this will remove the reverb. So if we turn it back on, you'll notice the reverb, and if we turn it off again, there's no reverb. Also, when the reverb is on, we can turn the knob down. That affects how much reverb or of the effect you've picked is actually applied to the channel. So if it's on, we want it all the way up, but we can also turn it off. Okay. Also, if say we get another channel, we put it on insert 14, for example, using the Control and Al command, you'll see it's there. But we've noticed we've got a gap between Moogish and Greasy, but we didn't want the gap. We wanted Greasy to be on insert 13 actually. So what do? What we can do is, if we click on the Greasy channel and hold Alt and the left arrow, you'll notice it moves along, and it saves us having to rewire each channel, and everything works fine. Also, if we want to split a channel split one single channel across different mixer tracks, all we have to do is click on it and then click this little button here saying enable send from insert 13 to insert 14. I'll click that, and then Greasy will now also play through insert 14, boosting its volume, which we can also use effects to manipulate this. Okay, so we use synth 2. you'll now notice that that's going across 2 different channels. We can make it go across as many channels as we want, but for the most part we'll only have it going over 1 channel to begin with. Also, you'll notice these sliders. That's simply just a volume slider, so if I play it, I can turn the volume down. It's a really good way to tweak the volume. Also, we have mute solo buttons here, similar to the ones in the step sequencer. By clicking the light off, obviously it stops the sound. You can still see the sound file playing, but because you've turned it off on the mixer, it's not playing through the sound device. So all we do is turn it back on, and it's working again. We also have this little line here. This is our panning for our mixer. So if we click it and move our mouse up, it pans to the right, and if we hold it and move the mouse down, it will pan to the left. Obviously we want this centered, but you might not always want it centered. Or when you learn things like automation, maybe you'd automate going across panning, depending on what you're doing. The only thing left really now to discuss from a beginner's perspective in the mixer is the selected channel here on the right, the far right hand side. This is basically whatever channel we select in the step sequencer will play through the selected. So if we're selected on kick, you'll notice it doesn't come through the selected because it's only playing through greasy. However, if we select greasy, it will then show up through the selected. Through this we can add effects to only a selected channel, and if we want to try reverb, for example, on different channels, we can keep that up on the selected without it having to be on one specific channel, and that allows us to manipulate it more easily. You may also want to rename things, as I discussed earlier. When you press Ctrl and L, you can't rename it automatically when you change it. I'll give you an example actually. So this is called greasy. If I change the preset name, so I don't know, let's pick celestial. So we have you'll notice that it hasn't changed. It's still greasy, even though in the step sequencer it's now renamed celestial. If we press Ctrl and L, it also still does nothing. So what we do here is we right click on it, simply go to rename color, just like the step sequencer in the playlist, and we just type in celestial, and we can change the color if we want as well. Here it is set this to green this time. Press enter, and there we go, we have a green mixer channel which is now called celestial. And other than that, there isn't a lot to this mixer. It's just mainly about it's really useful for getting EQ on there to really punch up your sounds, like to get a really snappy snare or a really punchy kick. You really need to focus on EQing for that kind of stuff. So you're gonna have to add an effect here on the channel you assign to the mixer. Usually it's best to use Fruity Parametric EQ2, but that's something for a different tutorial because it's in itself is quite an in-depth area. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and please check out my other videos, and I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Thank you very much.